That
Again,
is the pattern that happens over and over and over again in pickup for me is that I see a group of people, I engage in them, we chat for 10, 15 minutes. In that time, I get permission to isolate my woman of interest and escalate from there.
let's talk about that.
Please.
When you got them in isolation, aren't you really doing some form of NLP, some form of hypnotic stuff?
It's,
I've seen,
yeah,
if I could, I swear on my parents' memory,
mhm,
and I would not do that. So you know I'm being serious.
mhm.
I attended one of your seminars. It was a long time ago. It was in a
Yeah,
location
20 years ago, 15
20
years
years
ago.
ago. And I distinctly recall you looking at me and saying, and when I get them isolated, I basically use speed seduction.
No, 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 no,
That's
sir. No, sir. That's an interesting recollection you have, but no, no.
okay.
It's a
So tell
different
me, what are
model.
you doing?
It's like the Mac versus the PC to me.
What
Uh,
are you doing in isolation then? Aren't you fundamentally using what I teach throughout the
to
process?
be honest, isolation happens only if you're in a 3 set or more. If it's a 2 set, you cannot isolate because it alienates the obstacle or the friend. So, you know, isolation may be 2 people. It's a mini isolation. All you're doing is getting a chance to speak with one person from a group without everyone else hearing it, without holding court and running the group. Because it's group theory. We
I
run
get
the
it.
group, but you
I
get
get
permission from the peer group. Is it all right if I talk to her for a moment? And then you can move to a sit down. And the dream is the sit down,
Okay. So
talking one
what are you
really
doing?
attracted
What
to arm in arm.
specific What
That's what we want to
specific
get to.
techniques are you giving someone when they're in isolation and you've got that one-on-one to
Yeah, yeah.
capture the imagination, arouse the person, and implant the suggestions that it's on?
Well, by the time I'm moving the set, I'm in the third phase, which is known as qualification. She's qualified enough so that I can show enough interest to say, I'm curious about you. Is there more to you than meets the eye? Here, come join me. And you can grab a seat and get to know each other, which is the fantasy. The dream is being one-on-one with the girl. But because she's not alone, because she's in a group, because that group has friends, other groups, you have to handle all the logistics that are necessary to finally get a chance to, sit one-on-one with the girl and get to know her. So by the time I get down to lock-in, we call it lock-in, 3 to 5 minutes into set, you'll lean up against the bar, for instance, and the girls will join you. So it looks like they're with you as opposed to you gaming them. That's known as lock-in. It'll happen about 3 to 5 minutes in. I know that's a little early, maybe 7 minutes in if you're taking time with the stand-up group. And then you go grab a seat and you start comfort building. And comfort to me is really about time, getting her, like spending the time with her so that she can feel as comfortable as she needs to
Okay.
bounce.
If
Yeah.
I could, my claim, and something that my students would tell you, is comfort can be on the unconscious level installed when you know how to address it. I have a language pattern I call hard on sleeve. Now, as difficult as it may be for you guys out there to believe it, you can check it out for free. Just run it based on what the AI tells you. Basically, hard on sleeve talks about the theme of connection and comfort and what it's like when you feel it. And so what I'm saying is you don't need to take all this time with all these steps. If you know how to use your language to evoke these emotional responses bubbling up from the unconscious mind, you can do it very, very, very quickly. Can you do it in a club or bar scene? I don't know. But I think this whole idea that happens A1, A2, A3, C1, whatever, is based on your model, and your model is not taking into account the power of suggestion and the ability to talk to the subconscious mind and evoke responses very, very quickly. If you are leaving the power of language and suggestion to generate very quickly responses, states of mind, flows of feeling in the body, mental imagery, if you're leaving that out, you're leaving a vast array of weapons out of your arsenal.
But let's
If
not use weapons. Let's not
okay,
use arsenal.
tools,
Tool.
tools,
Tools for an
tools.
artist.
tools out of your toolkit. I'll accept a redefinition, if you will. Either way you look at it, either term you want to use, any terms you want to use, you're leaving that out. And I can tell you from my own experience, and look, I'm not doing it on my looks. Okay.
Mhm.
I'm just not. I never have. Well,
It's
hey,
coming in, Ross.
I remember you when you were a Johnny Depp lookalike.
Ah.
You were. I don't
Oh,
know
I
how
wish.
I don't know how much of this was you getting away with your looks. But in any case, my claim is that you can generate all these things, and they don't necessarily have to be in sequence if you know how to speak about some of the themes that excite women. What are those themes that women like to think about? Connection, being
Mhm,
swept off their feet,
mhm,
meeting someone who they feel like they've known their whole life,
mhm. All
doing
this is real.
doing something doing something that's just for them, that even their best friends they wouldn't want to tell them. All of that can be installed and suggested in a matter of 45 minutes if you're a newbie, and 20 minutes if you're good at what I do. You
Mhm.
don't have to do all this stuff. And again, I will challenge you on this idea that women have their emotions in sequence. They don't.
I
It's
don't know what that means. The
it means that
structure
women
is not giving her emotions in sequence. It's opening the set. It's then
okay,
demonstrating value. It's then qualifying her, giving her a chance to invest in you, and then not isolating, moving the set, the whole group into a sit down so you can build comfort with them. That's a typical fun night out, hanging
okay.
with friends that
But I'm saying building comfort can
Hmm.
take place in 3 minutes. You don't need to take hours to do it.
It's
Now,
up to
again,
her.
I'm going to acknowledge
Up to
something.
her. It doesn't make you a master if you get the girl in 3 minutes. It doesn't make you a master. It just makes the opponent naive.
No, no, no. If you can do it with the right skill set, it becomes predictable. And if you don't know how to do it, I could understand how you would.
Efficiency is what I'm after.
Okay, so if you can do it in 30 minutes
Yeah,
instead
that's
of
a typical
immediately,
pickup. 30
then
to 40 minutes is a good pickup. If not
uh,
2 hours by having an instant date, right? By
so
hanging with her that whole night because you
right,
want to, you
right.
like each other.
Right. So what I'm saying that using some of these language patterns in speed seduction, you can do all of that. I'll give you an example because
Mhm.
I'm just moving my lips and it's too generalized. So I have a language pattern called hard on sleeve. And
Okay.
basically, okay, so the sequence is first and foremost, you have to do a pattern interrupt. I think based on your work that you do a lot of pattern interrupts.
Mm,
Maybe you
yeah,
don't.
Baxter and I were talking about that. He had suggested my wingman Baxter, by the way, of 15
Love the
years.
guy.
Love the guy. He's a good man. Ladies love him. Yeah, he did really good this weekend. Uh, he was suggesting that very thing that you said that. Also the word manipulation. You know, I do magic. I perform. What I do is I put my best foot forward and I allow the woman to choose me based on my performance. To me, pickup is a performing arts. It's the
I
pickup
don't agree.
arts.
No,
It's an
it's
art
about
form.
performing. It's an art form, but
It's
there's
a
a
performance
distinction
art.
between an art form and a performance.
Mhm.
Okay. It's an art in the sense that you have to practice it, but we're not performing in speed seduction. We're creating connections with the deeper part of the woman's mind. But let me continue because
Okay.
I got sort of stared away.
Here, okay.
So what we're doing is doing a basic pat interrupt just to get her attention. Then I'm going to get her laughing because laughter is a way to get attention, and it's
We,
also
we both agree
bonding.
on that.
Okay, it's a
Laughter
bonding
is the
tool.
secret to success.
Really, it's
Yeah,
not being a clown, but laughter. We'll agree on that.
that's
All right, and then I'm going to ask her a simple question, which is, and this is designed to bring up an emotional state in her, which is, do you wear your heart on your sleeve, or can you hide your feelings? For example, let's say you meet a guy and you feel this amazing connection, those butterflies right there to let you recognize something big is taking place. Can you hide that that's what's happening? Or would your friends be able to see, yes, that's what's occurring? I listen to her answer, whatever her answer is.
Mhm.
Then I feed it back to her. And then I say, for me, when I feel that amazing connection, maybe even that special growing tension
Mhm.
that you recognize it's time to act on this. I can't hide it. It's an open book. Now that sounds like
No, it's
gobbledygook.
great. I
Sounds
love it.
nonsense.
I love it. I can see that working in field. You're captivating her attention. Like you said, focus, but I call it captivating. You can stimulate the set and then you can captivate the set, draw them in, right?
It's
It's a
more than
distinction. You
captivating.
stimulate first, then captivate.
It's more than captivating.
Hmm.
It's not just drawing focus in, it's installing, I'm making suggestions like feel this incredible connection,
Mhm.
feel
Yeah,
those butterflies. I did this with of all people, I did it with a parking enforcement woman. She said, God, I'm feeling those butterflies with you right now.
yeah,
It can be created really, really quickly. That's
right.
just one example of dozens of language patterns.
Yes,
Dozens.
sir.
I've done this. And then you can also seduce using genuine curiosity. I'll tell you another story. And this is what you would call indirect. Sitting on a flight, I'm sitting on this aisle seat, very attractive blonde woman, I would say in her late 20s, wearing a running suit, a track suit.
Okay.
And then coming down the aisle was this couple who were sickeningly in love. They were sucking face and saying, baby, baby, I love you, I love you. One sits down right next to the woman, the sporty woman. One sits down next to me, and they're talking across us. And I couldn't take it. I tap the blonde girl. I reach over. I say, "Hey, sporty, what say we change places so these two lovebirds can be together?" She says, "Fine, but I want your aisle seat." So she sits on the aisle. I sit next to her. And I notice she's looking through some very complex scientific diagrams. I said, wait a minute, that's a vector, isn't it? She said, yeah, that's right. And I said, that looks like a satellite at apogee. And that looks like a satellite at perigee. She said, yeah, that's absolutely true. I like, wow. I said, let me ask you something. And then I just started to dive into what I was curious about. Like, how is it that you're able to imagine all this stuff? Because when you do what you do, she said she was an aerospace engineer. Half of this is being an artist, you have to visualize it, but half of it is being an engineer. What part of that came easier to you, the engineer part or the artist part? That got her off to the races. I let her talk. I
Yep.
didn't, I
Invest
let
in
her,
you. Yeah, to
I
get her to
let her,
invest.
I let her talk. And then she said, how do you know this? Are you an aerospace engineer? I
Mhm.
said, I'm an aerospace engineer. She said, what
Mhm.
is that? I said, EROS. I engineer the space between men and women so they can feel an incredible connection. Then I went on to do some things. And do we have a full-on tongue-on-tongue makeout? No, but we made out a little bit.
Mhm.
I wound up getting her number, did a day two, and closed her. Now, I didn't talk about myself. I showed genuine curiosity about
As
that.
do I. Qualifying.
And
It's a phase.
and I
Yeah,
think
it's an important phase to get them to invest in you. We start simple, questions such as, if you had to sing on X Factor in 2 weeks' time, what would you sing? And that gets them investing in you. And it's an interesting question because some people have thought that through, so you get to learn about a person. You can ask questions such as, what's your superpower? Lighthearted ones. But what I enjoy in A3, in qualifying, is at the beginning, I'm crossing my arms and saying, is there more to you that meets the eye? And at the end, I'm uncrossing my arms and I'm saying, wow, your first impression was neutral. But now that I have gotten to know you, you're absolutely incredible. To me, A3 is the art of the compliment, is the art of hitting on the girl. You're going to show indicators of interest to the girl, but not until she's earned them. And that happens in an entire phase where she gets to invest in you. It
I'm
has,
not.
as
So,
as as Desmond Morris has said, it has to happen in phases. It happens in
okay, so
phases.
now what we're
Build a
doing is
timeline.
what you're doing is something that I think is a little intellectually questionable. I'm just going to say it. You're
I got it from you,
extrapolating.
Ross.
Okay, hold on a minute. I
Qualified.
don't know if that's true. You're extrapolating from evolutionary psychology and applying it to your system. So
Mhm.
it's a big leap. It's one
Well,
thing
it's a
that
practical manner. Remember how many women I've, you know,
we can
hung,
both we can both make
right?
those claims. And furthermore, what's more important is we can talk about what our students have done, because I think that's the most
Fair.
important.
That's nice. Yeah. Yeah.
That's the most important thing to convey. But what I'm saying, it's one thing to do it as a gambit. It's another thing to show, I may be misdefining or ill-defining your terms, so forgive me. It's
Well,
one thing.
I actually, if I may, I think that you and I have a commonality, and that is we're both gambit-centered thinkers. One of my beliefs is you should know what you're going to say before you say it. In other
I
words, know
agree.
your opener. And that's where we have a commonality, because you have patterns that people will memorize, and not just memorize, but make their own, so it really sounds like their rant, right? They make a rant, and in a 3-minute rant, you can really, like Russell Brand, convey a lot of your personality, and the girl
I
can
wouldn't call it a
choose you
rant.
based on that.
That's a mischaracterization to call it a
Okay,
rant.
fair, fair.
But in any case, here, I'm going to get back to this.
Please.
What I did with her was to show genuine curiosity, and my responses were based on what she was saying. It wasn't a generic question like, what would this be like if it was on X Factor or whatever it was you're saying. I'm saying the ability that I teach my students, the ability to put your agenda aside and
That.
genuine curiosity. I mean, real curiosity about what deeply moves that woman, not what TV shows she watches
No,
or.
I have deep qualifications.
Okay.
Again, it's phase.
Okay. So I'm saying that that is something that needs to be refined and needs to be taught. And it takes someone who's very intelligent to do it in a way where it's deep, genuine curiosity. Had I not known what she was pointing at, what she was drawing, I may not have done so well. So part of learning speed seduction is you have to be smart, and you have to become more well-read, and you have to be more emotionally intelligent than the average bear. So in that sense, I think it's more transformational because it requires things. And I'll admit it. Look,
More transformational than what?
say again, sir?
More transformational than what?
I think it's more transformational than what you're doing. I really do, because it's requiring someone to do more than just routines. It's requiring them to become more emotionally intelligent and to smarten up about their world.
It sounds like you haven't come to my boot camp. We had a weekend this weekend here in Toronto, and the students had, I believe, the experience of a lifetime, because they've had a chance to interact with so many groups of people and practice the material they need for the future. When a woman of particular quality comes along, they'll have performed each of their separate story gambits or qualifiers or openers or comfort building gambits. They have practiced them. They've gotten them out of their mouth in performance conditions enough times so that when a woman of particular quality comes along, they could run it all on them, and they won't have ums, ahs, pauses, awkward pauses. All that will be removed because of the practice. That seems to be a legitimate way for people to get good over a 3-day period.
Okay.
On night one, they're hesitant, but by night 3, they've opened a good 30 sets. Lots of learning.